Manjiri Prabhu, my dear friends, is also hailed as the Agatha Christie of India. And of course, the reasons are many. She writes thrillers, she is a thriller writer. And I learned something very new today called the destination thrillers. And her latest book is called The Legend of the Snow Queen. It is set in the city or the country that I live in. It's set in the Christmassy Bavarian snowy period. So, yes, you can see that beautiful book that Manjari is showing. So, Manjari, you have to start talking and showing the book, then you are like
Okay.
invisible. So, let's
Yes.
talk about the book while you also show the book.
Sorry, you were introducing me and I was so curious to show my
Yes,
book, eager
normally
to show
when
my
you
book.
are talking only, you are seeing, as in you are seeing. Yes.
Yes. So anyway, so in 2000, first of all, thank you, Priyanka, for inviting me. And it's nice to be here and to meet you after, I think, the World Book Fair a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And lovely to meet you even online. And talking about my books, I think the destination thrillers are my latest passion. So what I do is in 2017, I started this series. It's a very high-end, international, across the globe, larger than life series where the destination is like a character. It's not. So you've seen Yash Chopra take all his actors and actresses in Switzerland, and they're there and they're draped in red saris and flowing saris on a snowy backdrop. Well, I went a step further and I said, why not use the same destinations as actual characters? So, for example, if you know Sabudana Khichdi, you're from Bombay. So you know that if you remove the sabudana from the khichdi, it doesn't remain sabudana khichdi, right? Or if you're eating aloo paratha, and you remove the aloo from the paratha, it just becomes a paratha, not an aloo paratha.
Correct.
Similarly, if you remove the destination from the thriller, then it doesn't remain a destination thriller. It's just a thriller. So that's
Okay.
exactly what these destination thrillers do. They use the destination as a major character and they take the stories forward. And so I always was crazy about traveling and crazy about writing. And I said, how can I combine these two things? And it struck me that I wanted to use the destinations. All these European destinations have so much more to offer than just beauty. I mean, of course, they're beautiful and the landscapes. You're living in Berlin, you know that they're gorgeous. But look at the history there. You know, there's so much history and there's so much of their culture that we living in India or in other countries, we don't really connect with that or we don't know much about it. So I said, here's a good opportunity to kind of build a cultural bridge between two countries. And that's what I set off doing by starting a destination thriller. The first book was based in Austria, in Salzburg, where, if you have heard of this palace called the Schloss Leopoldstron, where the film Sound of Music was shot. The
Okay.
Van Trapp family used to live
Okay.
there, and so that whole palace was used in filming that famous Sound of Music film. And that's the first place where I based my novel. It was called The Trail of Four. After that, I moved to Sweden, to Lund University, which is like more than 350 years old. And the best part about all these Scandinavian countries is, of course, the Norse mythology, but also runes, rune divination and rune stones. And this is a special, Germanic language, it's made of symbols. So it was something very different, and I wanted to introduce that to Indians. And the third book, which I was just showing you, which has just been released, is based in Lake Starnberg, which is about 25 kilometers from Munich. And it talks about King Ludwig II. So if you've seen all these great palaces in Germany, the Neuschwanstein and the Linderhof, and
Yes.
all these palaces were built by this so-called mad king, Ludwig, who kind of spent all the government money on building these fantastical fantasy like castles, and he spent all the money. So the government declared him as mad. And then, he came, so they put him in prison in Castleberg near Lake Starnberg, right on Lake Starnberg, actually. And one fine day, he was found drowned in that lake. Now, the other part of the story is where his cousin, Sissy, if you've seen the latest series on Netflix, The Empress, it is on the
Hmm.
Empress of Austria. The Empress of Austria was King Ludwig's cousin. And they, even after a marriage, they used to meet for 24 summers in Lake Starnberg, where she used to come and live at a particular hotel. And they used to meet secretly, and they used to meet on Rose Island, and they were like kindred spirits. They were
Hmm.
both very free loving, freedom loving, didn't want to be kind of pressured by the government limitations and the government ethics and the government. They were just free birds. So they
Hmm.
connected. But after he drowned, she stopped coming to Lake Starnberg. Now, this whole story, this is where these two characters, I have brought them into the present tense. So these books, these destination thrillers are not historical fiction, but they do take an angle from history and brings it
Mm.
into a present, current, temporary thriller plot. And the whole story happens in about 48 hours. So that's destination
Wow.
thrillers.
48 hours. Yes. So I was actually talking to another thriller writer, and this time crunchy, pacey narrative
Yeah.
is probably one of the highlights of a thriller.
Yes.
But talking about destinations, I mean, what it entails. So I understand you love traveling. So that comes from the love for traveling also reflects probably
Yes.
in your book.
Yes. Yes.
What else does it require to write these destination thriller? Of course, a lot of research about culture, I would imagine.
Yes, 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 mostly research because see, when I set off writing this, I didn't want them to appear like an Indian writer trying to write about, say, Europe or trying to write about some part of Europe. I wanted it to seem like an actual insider story. So it wasn't like me showing you Europe like a two-dimensional thing. It had to be you living in the story too, like a European. So I think for that, the research entailed was really huge. Like simple things like, for example, if I have to travel in the middle of the night, say in Salzburg, from the cemetery, the famous cemetery there, to the police headquarters at 12 in the night, what would the route be and how many people would be on the street and in what season, what would the weather be like? So these little things, that go into making it an authentic piece of work really takes time. So it's not just research about history, which you can also learn about and through books and all that, but the actual physical presence of being in that place. Or how does the sky look on a summer evening on 7th May, probably, in say Lund University?
Yeah,
Or what time? Yeah. So these kind of little things which give it that real insider feel takes a lot of time.
yeah,
And I think that is really the biggest part of this goes beyond research. This is more about living that
exactly.
situation in that country with those people for a certain period of time to bring it into the book.
Absolutely. And when you were describing the scenic beauty of Europe, another thing which was coming to my mind because I live here is the eeriness of this beauty. Is this
Yes.
whole silence, eerie silence that you have, especially these castles. You almost
Yes.
feel like you are in some horror movie at some point.
Yes.
So I can imagine you really feeling this eeriness
Yes.
in these landscapes. They look
Yep.
very beautiful in pictures and Instagrams, but when you're actually there and
Yeah.
feeling and
They
breathing,
precisely because they offer you a romantic mysticism, which fits very well in thrillers. And this is precisely the vibe I got them from them too. They're beautiful, they're everything, but at a certain point, they do bring out this real, uh, weird. I won't call it eerie, but at least a weird feeling of
yeah,
isolating yourself from them at some point.
absolutely,
There's some feeling where you are not very comfortable being with them.
yes,
So yes, so that's exactly what I try to bring out through the thrillers, the beauty and the beast, I think. Both.
yes.
Yes.
Let's talk about your other book, which is completely different. I mean, you are a thriller writer, known for it, have written so many books, but you decided to write something about dogs and a nonfiction spirituality genre book. How did that happen? Are you a dog lover yourself?
Oh yes. This is the book. It's called The Dog. Oh, sorry. The Dog Treen, not Doctrine, Dog Treen of Peace. So I'm not just a dog lover, I'm a crazy, crazy dog lover. So
Hmm.
even if you call me a dog, I'll take it as a compliment, that kind of a dog lover. And there are points where I prefer dogs to human beings. But jokes apart, I was in my college when my first dog came to me. Her name was Sheena, and I got her as a gift because I taught one of my friends' daughter to learn French. I mean, I was teaching her French, and as a gift, she gave me a white Pomeranian. Her name was Sheena, and when Sheena entered my life changed completely. So when I look at me, I look at a Manjiri before Sheena and a Manjiri after Sheena, because once a dog enters your life, you cannot stay the same. They change you inside out. They change the way you look at life. They change your perspectives. I mean, for me, what happened was that began to see life in everything. I mean, my love for dogs, I mean, it's just the beginning. When you love a dog, it's just the beginning. It's going to change you so much that You're going to look at everything with love, peace, compassion, and harmony. You're going to appreciate life in all its forms. You're going to appreciate nature. You start appreciating your bullying neighbor also, and your siblings who are quarreling all the time. You just begin to see everything differently. So for me, life really became very different, and I realized along the way, like the concept for this book actually came in 1990s. I began writing it in 2007. I completed it about a year ago. When I looked at the world around me, I realized that love, compassion, and everything, which we naturally grow up as kids, we have that natural thing in us to be kind to people, to be friendly with animals. But as we grow up, because of peer pressures, because of the competition in the world, because of what probably parents teach us and what teachers teach us and what the world is teaching us all the time, we forget to be compassionate. We're just in a constant race for success or wherever we want to go. And I realized that in the process, we've forgotten to be kind. And that's why so many cases of cruelty and negligence and brutality and intolerance is all coming up, because we've forgotten that initial kindness in us. And I've wondered what would bring that back into our lives. And I said the answer is very simple. A dog in our lives will bring it back to us. And the reason is very simple. Dogs are the most loving. They love you like they would love nobody else. They will give up their lives for you. They will do everything for you. They love you unconditionally. I mean, that word unconditionally is said so many times it become commonplace, but honestly, they love you unconditionally. And there's no love like this. And when you have such a person in your life and is giving you that kind of unconditional love, you automatically reciprocate with that kind of love, not just to the dog, but that love grows. You can't help it, but the love grows. And it's a snowballing effect. You start loving your siblings, you start loving, you're compassionate to your neighbors, and so on and so forth. Till my philosophy says that there will be a time once in everybody's life, if everyone follows the dog train of peace, if everyone has a dog in their lives, that this world will be a peaceful place. There is no option. We cannot be haters. We cannot be anti-humans, anti-nature. We cannot be any of that if there's a dog in our life. It's as simple as that. And in this book, with lots of interviews, like there are interviews of Jane Goodall and spiritual gurus and thinkers and scientists and social reformers like Menaka Gandhi, who's an animal activist, animal lovers across the world, everyone, and of course my own views and my own 9 sutras of the doctrine of peace. Through it all, I have tried to prove, like an empirical research, that my theory holds solid scientifically, emotionally, spiritually, and emotionally.
Amazing. This is the part of my job which I love the most, when I see this passion and twinkle in the eyes of an author when he or she is talking about their books. So many
Thank you.
congratulations to you already, because
Thank you.
I think no book can do well unless the author is really so passionate, deeply passionate about their books and the subjects that they write about. So big
Yes.
congratulations to you.
Thank
I'm a
you.
big
Thank
believer
you.
of high passion and high energy in their work. So, Manjari, I mean, for me and also for the Writersmelon community, it's very important to understand the craft of writing. And who better than you to tell us about this aspect of fiction writing called the setting? Because we
Mm,
do know how to develop characters, let's say. Let's say, have certain idea about the plot that we want to do. But
mm.
setting is so important, and your book, especially the thriller series, the destination thriller
Yeah.
series, is a testament of how amplified this particular aspect of writing can be. So what
Yes.
tips can you share about setting?
Well, most importantly, there has to be a reason why you choose a setting. The
Okay.
most important thing. So, whenever you write a novel or a story or an article, there are 4, 5 questions you always ask. The W questions: what, where, whom, why, how, which. All answers will give you your entire plot. So, the where is very important, because the where is, of course, the background of the whole story, where it's taking place. Okay. Whereas also in what period of time. For example, where is not necessarily, let's say Berlin, let's say Berlin now, but it could be Berlin World War I, for all you know. So the where is also within a time capsule, so that the where and when come together. Where also, talks about the character's personality, because if he's somebody from Pune, the character will change, and somebody in say Salzburg, his character will change. I'll give you a simple example. When I started writing these European thrillers, I had to change the way those characters, there are no Indian characters in the books, by the way. They're all foreign characters. So if there's a particular situation, we Indians tend to respond melodramatically. Even our actors are all over the top. And even we say, hey guys, hello, or that kind of a thing. We're always over the top with our reactions. When it comes to a European book, because it's based in Europe, the characters are European, they will react to a situation differently from probably the way an Indian would react. So the where also affects the characters and who, which means the where affects the when, the where affects the who. Okay, so the setting is so important that everything surrounds it, and along with the setting, also the how should I say, the setting in which period of time. Not, I don't mean historically,
Location? Yeah.
location, but in what weather. For
Okay.
me, the weather is also the setting, the atmosphere. For example, all of my books either have snow or they have rain, because they add that quality of mysticism, like I said, to the book. So the where is also when the where is based.
You
Okay,
cannot have a
so
murder mystery without rain, right?
no rain, or there's a chill in the wind, or there's a
Yeah.
mist. Like my second book was called Silver in the Mist. So I even include the weather in it. So for me, the
Mhm.
where is the center of all my other questions. What, how, when, who, all are connected to my where, and that's the setting. So setting is absolutely important, and you have to know every little bit of the setting. For example, you cannot, for example, write a story about electricity in a village where there is no electricity. Simple, very simple things. If there's it's a so that's how important that where is. If I have a candle lit, some stranger going around somewhere, and when there is electricity, it makes no sense. Why the candle when there is electricity? So you see, these are very simple, basic examples, but the where is the most important part of the story, I feel, at least for my destination thrillers.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for elaborating it so well for us.
Yeah.
I wish you all the best for your forthcoming book, especially the next
Thank you.
thriller that's coming, the next destination
Yes.
thriller that's coming. I hope you
Yes.
travel the world and keep writing these books, and the readers love them as well. And yes, wish you all the best for all your initiatives, your writing, the lit fairs that you organize in Pune. And yeah, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you, Priyanka. Pleasure being here.